Hey, Darkhawk, can I ask you something? What's below the floor? No, really, what's really below the floor, not just the dirt. What if you kept going down, further and further? I've always wondered that. Deeper and deeper into the earth, through the crust, then down into the mantle, further and further down until you hit the earth's core. Is that where the lizard people live? I always wondered if the lizard people are in the core. What if you went even further than that? Through the core, back through the mantle, and then, ironically, back through the crust, where you emerge in Beijing, China. Then could you get on a rocket ship and fly all the way up to the moon? The true home world of the lizard people? Do you think we'll ever get to the moon? Yeah, me too. Me too. I love you, Darkhawk. We are on the brink, folks. We are on the brink. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another boring video with Swaggle Haas. Yes, that is right. As you guys can probably tell from the thumbnail or the title or whatever I decide to call this video here today, we got ourselves a line charts and graphs video, guys. Line charts and graphs, buckle up. It's going to be a boring one. It's going to be a big old plate of vegetables. But it's going to be good for you. It's going to be good. You got to eat this stuff so that you can feel, like a healthy comic book collector going into the rest of the comic book year. Because in this video, we got ourselves a comic book index update. And boy, oh boy, is it getting very, very interesting out there. We're going to talk about that in a second. But before I get into it, if you guys drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, doing those things, I would appreciate it. But let's get into this video here today. Now, like I always say, guys, this is just one point of data. I'm neither on Team Bears nor am I on Team Bulls. I'm just presenting you guys some things that I'm seeing. I'm not telling you anything. It's up to you guys to decide what you want to do, how you want to spend your comic book money, how you want to move from here. Now, at the end of the video, will give you guys a lot of my takeaways. I will talk about what I see, what I'm thinking, and kind of re-emphasize a lot of the things that I've been talking about previously in other videos, where I was talking about state of the markets or comic book collector corners. And we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about, sort of the macro environment and how that's going to affect the comic books. I'm going to get through the index lines, charts, and graphs. I know that they can be a little bit dense. I'll try not to belabor it and get too into the weeds. We'll try to get through this as quickly as we can so that you guys don't fall asleep. But of course, the comic book index, guys, is the top 100 sold books per age, silver, bronze, and copper. I take the highest volume of grade. That's the one that I count. Then I take the final sale of each month. I average that out. I get all the numbers from GPA data, and that is how I put the index together. So think of it, if you wanted to buy the top 100 most desired books every single month, how much would it actually cost you? So coming up here, Silver Age Index from April of 2023. This is where we were last month. We came down a little bit from 53,400, but in the prior month to that, in March, we had a big up month at 61,723. And it's been, kind of my discussion on this channel that we've been, kind of oscillating back and forth, trying to find which way we are going for the last few months. But I've been also talking about how, Q3 and Q4, seasonality wise, typically goes down for a lot of comic books. So with that all in mind, where did we find ourselves in May? Well, we actually went down once again. Ooh, we are on the slide, guys, going to $46,743. That is the low of the year, lower than that of February by just a slight amount. Not too much overall, but as you guys can see, still just a kiss away from that of the 2020 high that we saw in December. So we are officially on the brink of 2020 prices. And the question always remains, are we going to be dipping below? Now, later on in the video, I will talk about, what is going on. And, people have always memed on me, Swag, you're always calling the floor and stuff. When you really dig into the numbers on an individual basis, it's not that a lot of prices are completely crashing. In fact, when we go to the key takeaways, I'll show you guys that actually there were more up sales this month than there were down sales. What's really having an effect on this market, because it is so weighted towards volume, is the non-sale factor. Now, the non-sale factor can have a big effect on the value of the index in any given month, but I still think that it is important to, incorporate that in this model, because I do think that that has a lot to do with the demand that we're seeing out there, because again, these are the top 100 most desired books. It's not that these books aren't available to the market to purchase. All right, let's move forward now to the Bronze Age Index. Now, the Bronze Age Index, had been struggling, definitely been on the decline. A couple of up months in the early part of the year. Last month, we kind of had what I would call a push, because it was just a slight pullback. Where did we go here in the month of May? And oh, baby, we also went down to the $38,930 range. Definitely a significant drop, the biggest drop we've seen probably in the last 6 months. Now, again, this has a lot to do with the non-sale factor, but I think that the non-sale factor is important to talk about because of the fact that that kind of implies, a lot of demand out there in the market. But like the Silver Age Index, we are still slightly floating above that of the 2020 prices, where in December of 2020, we were at the $37,724 range. So still hanging above that line. But the question remains, are we going to have a crossing pattern later in the year? All right, let's finish it out now with the Copper Age Index. Copper Age had a bounce back month. Prior to that, the March month was definitely down. Where do we go in May? And like you guys can see with the other indexes, we have also dropped back down, not the calendar low for Copper Age, but matching that of what it was doing in March of 2023. Now, if we put the lines, charts, and graphs together, there you can see, and this is something that I think is kind of interesting and probably something that I might decide to do in future index updates, is basically, now that I've had a long enough time doing this and really analyzing a lot of these numbers, I think it's fair to say that the Bronze Age is probably the most accurate determination of where the general comic book market is. You can see that, the Silver Age has big months. It has big swings, especially here in 2023. But, if we think about it in terms of how it, responds to the Bronze Age, we can see that generally speaking, if you kind of squish those big swings and average them out, the Bronze Age kind of mirrors everything that the Silver Age has done. Even when you go back to, early in March of 2020, you can see that the Silver Age had a huge uptick, going to 43,000 in May of that year. And the Bronze Age also sort of had, a slight uptick. And then you see a huge crash for the Silver Age as well. But the Bronze Age continues to trend upward. And similarly, the Silver Age eventually evens out and also trends in correlation to that of the Bronze Age. So what I might decide to do in future videos is actually kind of combine all these numbers and do, a index 300. In fact, actually what I really want to do is figure out the modern age top 100. And then I can actually put all of those numbers together and we can have kind of like an S&P 500, except it'll be the comic book 400 index. And I think that that'll just be easier to talk about, because at this point, based on the model that I've created and the books that I'm analyzing that are the top 100 most desired keys in each of these eras, it really does feel like these things all move in correlation anyways. So I think the average might be better, to see in the aggregate. All right, I won't belabor this slide too much, but here you can see the zoom in. Of course, Silver Age had a decrease of 12%, the Bronze Age a decrease of 9%, and the Copper Age a decrease of 10%. So, if we put it all together, roughly a 10% decrease for this particular month. On an individual basis, if we talk about values that have gone up and values that have gone down, here in the Silver Age, 16% down, 16% up, and 30% non-sale. That 30% non-sale is the biggest non-sale month that I've seen since doing this index. So there was a lot of books missing in terms of, being able to add back into the value range. So again, I think that, if you really want to dive into that, what that means is, a lot of these books have been kind of resetting to just above that 2020 price. And I think there is still a lot of demand for that. But the books that have not reset back to the 2020 price, comic book collectors are refusing to pay those prices. They won't capitulate into, paying whatever the 2021 price is. So a lot of people are like, I'm just going to wait. I'm just not going to buy it. And that's where you're seeing the big non non-sale factor. Similar to the bronze values here, 12% down, actually 14% were up this month. Even though the index overall has corrected, we saw more up sales this month than we saw down sales. But again, it's that 15% non-sale factor that had the biggest effect on the overall value of the index. Again, the demand has been going down. Now, this is really interesting. The month by month graph. Of course, the cyan line represents 2023, our current calendar year. And you can see that May is actually down. Now, typically, May is usually an up month for comic books, but it does feel like, it had been trending down. And actually, if you compare the 2023 line to the orange line, which is 2022, right now we're seeing it being mirrored. So that could be an indication that our 2023 is going to look very, very similar to that of 2022, where March was actually the high month, and then we kind of went on a slow decline for the rest of the year. Now, again, the big question remains, are we going to have that crossing pattern with the yellow line of 2020, or are we even going to go lower to the crossing patterns of the red and the blue line, which is 2019 and 2018? Now, last little thing here, the comic book trend line. Again, this is not actually totally drawn to scale. This just kind of gives us a little bit of a perspective of where these indexes are moving. Now, it does show in this particular index that the Bronze Age has dipped below that of the trend line. But again, a trend line is just a trend line. It doesn't actually mean anything, in any given month. It just kind of shows you over the long haul. So, there's nothing to say that, in the next couple months, we could dip, 100% below the trend line. But then at a certain point, maybe a year from now or a year and a half from now or 2 years from now, eventually, the jetpack will be strapped up to the index and will bounce back into that trend line overall. So, again, trend lines can work both ways. Similar to 2021, we were way above the trend line. We could dip way below the trend line and then eventually find ourselves back in the trend line, sometime in 2024 and 2023. But let us finish out the video here talking about the bear and the bull case. The bear and the bull case. Now, I understand, guys, whenever I put out these videos, I'm always going to see the comments and everyone's always memeing on me and everyone's always saying, oh, Swag's calling the bottom, oh, Swag's calling the floor. Look, guys, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict this stuff. But it's just so funny to me that there's just, both sides of the camps. And again, this is just one point of data. If you're out there and you're making $1 million selling comic books or whatever you're buying and you're going to the moon, that might be your experience. Or there's a lot of people out there whose experience is like, oh my God, everything is going down. I can't even sell, a Darkhawk #1, the most desired comic book in the market. So everyone has different experiences, but it's literally people will come up to me and they'll go dude, Swagos, you have no idea. Dude, come Christmas time, AF-15s, you're not even going to get $100 for an AF-15. Just you wait, dude. Just you wait. And then on the flip side of that, people are like, dude, Swagos, man, I just bought 18 UF4 Georgievich variants. I am going to absolutely go to the moon. Dude, have you seen the trailer for Ms. Marvel? I just bought 1,000 Captain Marvel books. Ms. Marvel #1. Totally gonna go to the moon, man. Totally gonna go to the moon. And so here you have two schools. People are just moon boys and bear bros. Moon boys and bear bros. Just both sides of it, going at it all the time. And again, I think it has to do with your own personal buying styles, your own personal habits, whether you have a vested interest in it, whether you are a seller. Because here's the thing, guys. Even in bear markets, you can still make a lot of money selling comic books. That's kind of why, you buy and sell and you trade and you do the whole thing and you make the hobby pay for itself. Nobody ever went broke taking a profit, even in a bear market. That's why it's if you can find a book out there that's being sold at half price and then sell it on eBay, for 75% of the fair market value, you still made 25% on your fair market value, even though the price is in theory still going down. So again, there's a lot of different factors to this. And I'm just kind of showing you guys one little point of data. This is not a perfect science. Who knows where we go from here? In fact, actually, I want to do a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to put two comments down at the bottom. One's going to be Moon Boys and one is going to be Bear Bros. I want to know what you guys think. Can you guys do me a favor and just like the comment whose team you are on? Are you on Team Bear Bros or you are on Team Moon Boys for the rest of the year? And I apologize, ladies, you are also allowed to vote. Not that you need my permission to vote. It's 2023. Ladies can vote if they want to. I act like there's any ladies watching this channel right now. We all know that it's only 3% of my audience that are actually ladies. So lady, If you would like to participate, you absolutely can be on Team Moonboy or Team Bear Bro as well. I say bro and boy in the colloquial sense. But like those comments, let me know what you guys think. Where are we going from here? Again, I'll refer back to my market update video, or talking about the comic book collector corner, or I was talking about my short box speech. I talked about how, there's so much correlation to the macroeconomic environment based on, what the Fed is doing with the interest rates. Again, interest rates are still high. And, it's looking like in June, they're probably going to do a pause. That's kind of what the market predicts right now. But I do think that, if the inflation is still sticky, they might raise it again, their next meeting in July or August or whenever the next meeting is. And that might cause a panic in the market. And that can be, kind of a black swan event causing the market to crash. How that factors into comic books, we shall see. That's the other thing too. Again, I'm talking about a lot of correlation here. Does, the macroeconomic factors have its effect in these comic books? Who really knows? Some people say that comic books are recession proof. Well, we are definitely going to find out if that is the case in Q3 and Q4. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. That was the update for the comic book index for the month of May. Definitely a little bit down. We could be going further down, down, down. Red Knight's going down. Let me know what you guys think. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.